Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello, welcome to the Popternative podcast, the podcast and talk show where we have digital discussions from the worlds of TV, film, pop culture, social media, sports, everything. Really, depending on the guest, we talk about it all. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis. Social media, you know me as PD Beats. You'll recognize my guests from a lot of cool things, including Letterkenny on Crave and Hulu. We are with Sash Striga. Sash, welcome to Popternative.
Hello, thank you for having me.
No problem. I mean, it's pretty cool because, you know, we're both Canadian and Letterkenny is like a Canadian show. But as soon as it kind of got released on Hulu, it just seemed like it just exploded. And it wasn't just Canadian. It became like a global show as well.
I know, it's kind of crazy because I know growing up, obviously, like in Calgary, Letterkenny was like a way of life when I was in high school. So it's so bizarre now to introduce, you know, the other countries to it.
But I feel like it's like one of those things where when you ask people why they kind of like Letterkenny, I think it kind of is because, you know, it takes place in like, you know, a small town. Everyone knows everyone. And there's a lot of people that relate to that, right? Like a lot of people are like, that might be my town. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like they relate to
100%.
it.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, it's so true. I remember when I was in high school, the hockey players, I went to a school that was it specialized in both performing arts and sports, which was a hilarious combination for a bunch of horny high schoolers.
Yeah.
And I remember all the hockey players, it was just exactly the same.
No, for sure. For you specifically, before Letterkenny, when did you kind of decide that like kind of like acting and storytelling was something you want to do?
I mean, I've been acting and performing since I was, you know, a kid, right?
Yeah.
And then I guess it was actually when I went to Lethbridge. It's a little bit south from Calgary, and I went to college there for a bit. I actually went for journalism, so I went for a completely different life path sort of thing, and then I realized I was absolutely miserable, and that's when I made the change to actually pursue it professionally. So it was a kind of thing where I grew up doing it. I didn't think I was going to do it professionally. And then I realized that it's the only thing I can do to really be happy.
Did you notice when you were in journalism though, that like there was a lot of different kind of fields kind of like overlap? Like I find like, cause I'm a communications major and I find like communications, journalism, public relations, like entertainment, like I feel like it all these days has become kind of one. Like I feel like people are trying to separate them, but they cross over all the time.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I've definitely noticed that even in my industry. Like, I never knew teleprompter reading was going to come so in handy, or inner ear prompts, and all these things I'm so used to from doing journalism that it's crazy. I would never have known.
But I find it interesting, right? Because like you know, and it's pretty cool because, you know, it's kind of full circle. I kind of move more for like the sports media stuff, like my current job right now. But like before that, when I was in Montreal, I did CEGEP. I did like the cinema communications program at Dawson College. And it's one of those things where like I was interested in film and then it became kind of full circle. But here's the thing, right? In this industry, you have to be able to wear many hats and do a lot of things. Like if you're making a movie, you know, it might help that you're able to make a press release for your movie as well, because you might not have the money to budget everything.
Yeah, 100%. And also, like, being an actor, it's an interesting realization to have that you are the product. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have to learn how to market yourself as a product, which is really interesting. And I never would have had any idea how to do that if it wasn't for journalism. So it's one of those things where I went down the wrong path in life, like not the path I was meant to be on, but it served me so well. So I can't ever really be, you know, ungrateful.
For sure. Can you talk a little bit about your character, Letterkenny, and kind of maybe a little bit of like the evolution or kind of the growth of your character over seasons?
Yeah. Let me see. How would I approach that? Well, Allie's hilarious. She's so fun to play. She's just like this. She's such a sweetheart. Like she truly has such a heart of gold, and she just wants things to go well. But she's also so unafraid of standing her own ground and really like standing up for what she believes is right, and, you know, potentially breaking some laws along the way. Just she's served by her own moral compass, which is super cool to play. And yeah, she kind of developed, I I didn't expect her to to come as far as she has. And I'm so grateful that she has, because when I first did Letterkenny, it was my character was introduced as City Girl 1, and it was in the wedding episode with Dax and Ron getting married, and there's an interaction with me and City Girl 2 in which we end up turning down the hockey players, which that was originally supposed to be just kind of like a one shot,
Yeah, one shot
in
deal.
and out, like one episode thing. That's how our characters have been are serving the plot, and they just called us back. I remember I was actually on set with Tavita, who played City Girl 2 originally, and I was actually on set for American Gods. We were filming American Gods together, Tavita and I, and we both got the email at the same time saying that they were going to bring us back, and we were both so excited. And we had names, and then it just kind of developed from there. It was really a blessing that it just kept coming back every season, and we kept getting to do more and getting to discover these characters more. So
That's amazing, and it's one of those
Yeah.
things where I've interviewed a lot of Letterkenny people on the show as well, and everyone just talks about how there's certain moments where, depending on the scene, like it's kind of sometimes difficult to do takes because there's so much like laughing going on, and you know who everyone says is like the hardest to do scenes with? Mark Forward. Everyone says Mark Forward is the hardest one.
I haven't been lucky enough to do any scenes with him. Hopefully,
Because you
hopefully in the
can, but
future I get to.
you can see where they're coming from.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What were there moments where you were like, you were doing a certain scene and you guys couldn't stop laughing? Like, was there anything like that you could kind of share?
Yeah. I mean,
Because it's so in your, it's so like, it's so like it's so fast paced sometimes, the dialogue, and like sometimes goes from 0 to 100. So it's like, I wouldn't be surprised if you were just like, oh my God, like I can't stop laughing inside right now.
Well, it's also just because it's so fast paced, and it's such a dialogue heavy show, right? Like that's the comedy of it, is it's so well written, right?
Yeah.
And the pace of it's like quick, and it's like that on set. So I guess there's tons of times where you'll flub a word and it just comes out entirely wrong, and it's hilarious. But I think the scene that we had the most difficulty filming and keeping it serious was in, oh gosh, when, oh, I hope it's not a spoiler. It's been out for a really long time. This season, so this is like 2 seasons ago, or maybe it was last season. But when we were having our little threesome scene with Stuart, when me and Bianca were having our threesome scene with Stuart, wow, let me tell you, that was a hoot to film, because it was like, just do whatever you want. So like Tyler's feet are over here and Nadine's head is over here somewhere, and you're just kind of like trying to make it all work. And oh God, we all had the giggles so badly. I'm amazed that they got some takes out of that, because we were in stitches.
It's just like, yeah, and even like talking to, James, who plays Ronzi, I mean, he says there are certain things that you just, like, you go in and you're like, hey, you're ready. Like, you're in the zone. And then it's just kind of like you can't help yourself because there's so much, it's so over the top. What do you think? We kind of mentioned, like, the wittiness of the writing and the quickness, but it's just like, it's very in your face comedy sometimes with like the punchlines and everything. What do you think is hitting stride with Letterkenny and the audience the most? Is it what we talked about in the beginning, like them relating to it? Like, what do you think has made it popular? I know it's kind of tough because there's probably a lot of elements, but what have you kind of noticed?
Yeah. I would say it's definitely a combination of the fast-paced wittiness of it. Like the wordplay in it is so good. It's one of those gems of a show that's really well written and also hits so many people close to home, because there's so many different categories of people in the show, right? Like there's the Hicks, the Skids, and you can really associate with each and every one of them. So I think it's a combination of the two. I couldn't say it's one.
Oh, absolutely. With other things you've kind of worked on, because you've gotten the chance, you mentioned American Gods, you did some work on What We Do in the Shadows, which is currently one of my favorite shows, because I honestly think that show, I was a fan of that show before the Emmy, right? There's this bandwagon of people that are watching it now because it got nominated for an Emmy, but that show is like hilarious. Like, so funny, you know what I mean? what are some of the projects that you like to that you're hoping you can kind of work on in the future that you haven't had the chance to? Because it's a lot of comedy you're doing. You've done some drama, but is there anything specifically that Sash Striga hasn't worked on yet that you want to kind of accomplish on the road?
Yeah, it's okay, and this is a very strange and very specific thing I've just been thinking about lately, but I really want to play a female athlete, like so
Mm.
badly. I just think that sports psychology and the psychology of acting is so similar. I think it would be such a cool thing to explore. So I'd love to play like a volleyball player, but like a gritty volleyball player, like maybe a
Interesting.
volleyball that's tied with murder. Like who knows? Something in there would be really fun.
No, absolutely. That would be really cool. And I feel like there's a
Hmm.
lot of it's funny because there like at one point there didn't seem to be like a lot of like sports things to watch, and then I feel like all of a sudden
Yeah.
there's a lot. Like I was strolling through like Netflix and like Apple TV, and there's like a new show with Jason Sudeikis called Ted Lasso that I need to watch, which is like about where he's like an
I haven't
American
heard about
football
it.
coach, goes to UK to coach soccer like football, like UK football. So that looks kind of funny, but yeah, no, that I totally see that. There was a movie, a lot of those like documentaries series, like I feel like The Last Dance, Michael Jordan, I think kind of made a lot of those like sports things like popular to the point where sports fans, it wasn't just sports fans watching it. Like I know a lot of like non-sports fans that watch those documentaries.
Yeah,
So no, that'd be really really cool. Is there anything
that
kind
would
of
be
you
fun.
learned on Letterkenny that like, because like I said, it's interesting. You start as like City Girl 1, and then you get this recurring
Yeah.
role where you show up. I mean, what were kind of some of the learning experiences for you on that show as an actor?
Oh, there's so many.
Yeah.
Well, here's a funny story. So my background as an actor is theater based, right?
Yeah.
So everything I've done before, let's say 2017, was all theater. I didn't do any film and television. It just wasn't something I'd fallen into. I was doing a lot of musicals at the time. I was doing a lot of straight plays, but I hadn't done any TV. So I just graduated from my performing arts college that I went to, and it was about 3 months after I graduated, and I got this audition for Letterkenny that came through. Did it, was totally starstruck that I even got the audition because again, I grew up watching it, right? So it
Yeah.
was such a surreal moment, and booked it obviously, but it was my very first time on a set ever.
Like
Like
ever.
period, stepping on a set ever. Like I'd never been on a set before. So again, like obviously I'd worked previously in theater, but film and television was a whole new beast. So it
Mhm.
was, the entire thing was a learning curve. Like I'm still so shocked they even asked me to come back because I'm pretty sure that I had no idea what I tried to walk myself to set. Like that's the number one thing that you don't do. You wait in your trailer until someone comes to get you to take you to set. But I'm sitting in my trailer like, oh well, it says I'm supposed to be on set at 8, so I guess I should leave now. And I'm like trying to walk myself to set, and everyone's stopping me, and I'm truly astonished that
It all did
I got
all
this
of it
time.
get shot in Sudbury, right?
Yeah.
So like every scene, so you're all basically when you shoot, you're all in Sudbury basically. So
Mhm.
is there a lot of, because I know Jay Burton, I know he's from, who plays Tyson, I know he's from Sudbury. Are there a lot of Sudbury actors and crew workers on that set?
Yeah, I would say most of the crew is definitely from Sudbury or that area, like
Hmm.
North Bay, that kind of whole section. Actor wise, there's definitely quite a few.
Hmm.
Usually it'll be, yeah, I would say there's quite a few
Awesome.
Sudbury based
It's
actors, which is
interesting
really
though.
nice. It's
So is there anything kind of like, so like how many seasons, how many times have you, like, because I did find out apparently that there are some shows that they filmed, so like they did like 4 episodes of season 1, and then they also, while they were there, filmed like scenes for season 2 as well. So like they did,
yeah,
so for you, like was it each season you'd go back type thing? So how
yeah,
many
yeah. So
seasons
we
have
do
you
2 blocks.
officially kind of worked on?
Uh, oh, I think 6, but I wouldn't even quote myself on that. I think I came in season 4,
Hmm.
and we're on season 9 now. It's a bit, this is why it's hard for me to give a straight answer because, so for example, like the seasons that are released to the public, like obviously are season 1, 2, 3, 4. But for me, when I get the breakdown, it comes as like season 1A, season 1B. But even though that would be season 1 and season 2 in the world, you know? So I'm kind of like, oh, well, I did 4A, 4B, 5A, 5B, but those are just blocks. So that's why I'm confused.
No, for sure.
I'll check my IMDb.
For sure. No, that's awesome. Well, Sash, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really enjoyed chatting with you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was really nice.
No, absolutely. So where can people follow you on social media to keep up to date with everything?
I'm on Instagram at Sash Striga,
Okay.
SASH Striga. And that's pretty much it. I honestly don't really do / like social media that much. So
You kind of have
I'm
to,
on
but
one
you
platform and that's it.
you kind of have to have it though, right? Like it's kind of like a rule where like, because I found out that there are some people that are there's some casting directors that will, and like I still till this day hope it's not 100% true, but like apparently like there are people that look at like Instagram followings and will like cast people if they have a big Instagram following, and I find that very kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's I mean, I've heard that that's something that they'll occasionally look at, but I mean, also I don't think it's usually the deciding factor. The deciding factor is always going to be who should get the job, right?
Yeah, the craft, right?
It
The
is
work,
a bonus
absolutely.
if you Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it is a bonus really if you do have a following, I guess.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Even though I don't like social media.
No, for
at
sure.
all. I will
Hey, you're
always
doing
say
pretty.
it.
You're doing pretty good at it, though. Don't worry, you're doing pretty good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for doing this, and all the best for future seasons of Letterkenny, and all the best for future projects for Sash Striga. That's awesome.
Yes, thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. Until next time, this is Sash Striga and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.